Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from True Off My Chest. Our first post is by Best Shane. My fiance just gave me the biggest ick and I don't know how to act now. So I, F23, work night shifts full-time as a licensed practical nurse, midnight to 8 a.m., and also go to school full-time to become a registered nurse. For those who don't know, nursing school is quite hard, and I still have to work full-time or almost full-time to pay my bills. My fiance M26 on the other hand isn't really working right now. Slow season, he does 1 to 2 days a week. He stays home and now does most of the childcare regarding my stepdaughter. He's supposed to do most chores too, but really we split that 50-50. I worked the whole weekend and last night, and didn't get much sleep because his daughter was supposed to go at her mom's but didn't, so she kept waking me. Plus he had friends over during the weekend, and our apartment is quite small so there's no place to sleep away from the noises. Averaging 3 to 5 hours of sleep per day, it's safe to say I wasn't really up for any extracurricular activities in the bedroom, so we didn't do anything all weekend. The morning while I was in class, right after the worst shift of my life, he texted me, "I'm in the need for physical love," and already I wasn't feeling it. I hadn't slept in 20 to 24 hours when I got home, so I was nauseous and exhausted. He was pouting, so I told him I would put an alarm at 3 p.m. so I would wake up and we could get at it before we went and get his daughter from school. He seemed okay with it and let me sleep for 3 hours. When my alarm rang, I felt like I was dying. I was so ready to just go back to sleep, but he immediately peeked his head through the bedroom door to see if I was awake and went to lay next to me. I was more nauseous than ever and really turned off, but he was looking at me with such insistence, and I really didn't feel like having a fight about my lack of desire towards him. So I just let him do his thing. When he was done, he rolled over, told me he was drained and fell asleep. I can't fall back asleep, so I'm fighting nausea and tears. IDK, what to do now? Our next post is by Expensive Opinion. My brother-in-law is the reason why my husband left me. I don't know what to do now. I F38 met my brother-in-law M38 at uni. He asked me out in our first year and I refused. He called me the C word and that I am shallow. My best friend told me that it was harmless comments from a drunken guy who got rejected. I never thought myself shallow. It was his demeanor and awkwardness that was off-putting to me. Anyway, he proved my friend right, and other than these comments I have never felt uncomfortable during my uni years because he never bothered me again, not even looked my way. Next time I met him was when my baby sister F28 introduced him as her BF. I didn't even recognize him at first because it was like 9 to 10 years since that day he talked to me. He was visibly annoyed that I didn't recognize him and called me a liar. The family was skeptical at first about him, but he seemed to treat my sister right and she seemed happy. He is very rich, taking her all over the world, and he seemed kind with us too. They got married after a year of dating. They have 3 children. I met my now ex-M40 5 years ago, and the only odd comment from my brother-in-law was that I was still as shallow and superficial as I was in uni. At the time, I took it as a joke, but in hindsight, when I found out the truth and started thinking back looking for red flags, this was probably a big one. He never showed any signs that he disliked my husband, and he was always decent enough, and his indifference to have a close friendship with my husband and I didn't seem odd because he was always a recluse. A year ago, my husband came home and accused me of cheating, and he had evidence. The guy contacted him, and he had nudes etc. of me on his phone. The guy told my husband that he didn't know at first that I was married, but as soon as he found out, he contacted my now ex. He even apologized to my husband. I have never met this guy in my life. Nothing I said or did made my husband believe me. He left me, and our divorce is pending. Then yesterday, that guy contacted me. He apologized for what he did and told me that he is friends with my brother-in-law. He sent me conversations, endless conversations my brother-in-law had about me for years. He has never forgotten that I, in his words, didn't even give him a chance and only judged him by his looks. He called me C in that chat. Both groups chats with his friends, but mostly with this guy. They planned this attack and my brother-in-law somehow got access to my photos. The reason this guy contacted me now is that he felt guilty because even when my marriage is over, my brother-in-law still was angry and hateful, especially when he heard that I was on a date last weekend. So the friend felt that he didn't help his friend but ruined innocent people's lives. Not sure what to do. My brother-in-law has actually been happier and more sociable than usual since my divorce, and now I know why, although first I thought he felt sorry and wanted to support me. His jokes about me ending up an old maid with cats as companions don't sound like jokes anymore. He meant them. I don't want to ruin my sister's life. She's very happy with her husband. I'm not sure either if I can with her husband. I'm not sure if I should tell my ex or not. I am very heartbroken that he didn't believe me. Love him very much. He is the love of my life, but I'm not sure if I can forgive him for not believing me. But he is a victim in this too, so maybe he needs to know for closure. I am so terribly sad and hurt. I'm sorry this post got very long. Our next post is by Primary Remote. Our local hospital is in the headlines for making policy changes. No one really knows I'm the reason why. My husband and I learned we lost our first pregnancy around 14 weeks back in August during an ER visit I admitted myself to for peace of mind. Nothing was wrong, but I felt in my bones something was. The visit was a mess. Nothing they did was illegal, and there was no malpractice per se, but as I've been recovering, I've been realizing I didn't like how I was treated, and I decided to reach out to the hospital to see if I could help fix it. It's been months of going back and forth and rehashing details I'd rather forget. I started talking with a nurse, was escalated to a doctor, to the practice manager, to the ER director, to the hospital director. During all of this, so many people have told me it's pointless, or questioned why. They're a big hospital. You think they're going to actually listen to you. They're not going to care. They have bigger things on their plates. Just an endless onslaught of doubt that made me begin to question it too. But after 2 weeks of silence yesterday, I got a call from both the hospital and ER directors. They've made policy changes to allow every patient access to water, a phone, and their vehicle. My doctor has been removed from rotations, and his record is forever marked. They're initiating a 6-week compassion course to all ER residents, and on the behalf of the entire hospital, they apologized for my treatment. I ended the call with the ER director, and he told me if there's any silver lining to any of this, it's the fact that no woman will be treated the way I was ever again, and he genuinely thanked me for speaking up. I immediately collapsed into my bed. It's been so heavy with the loss of our son, with the PTSD, and with repeating the story of the worst day of my life time and time again, constantly being questioned if I'm grieving appropriately, if I'm misaligned, misguided. But no, they actually treated me wrong. They actually apologized. They're actually making changes so it won't happen again. And my tears are finally happy for the first time since June. Edit. I'm not going to clarify what happened. It's a story that's traumatic for me, one I've had to repeat several times. And part of the happy tears is that yesterday on that call I got to tell it for the final time. The point of my post is the outcome, the biggest weight off my shoulders, and a victory I will likely tell very few people about in real life. Hence getting it out on here, plus what happened is something I simply don't need to get off my chest anymore. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.